What's up, y'all? It's your girl Cornelia back with another episode of Black News, a podcast where we break down current events, hot topics, and local stories involving Black people. Now let's get into it. Hey y'all, so hi, how are you? Hi y'all. Hey y'all, what's up? Another day, another dollar. Hi. How's everybody doing? Check in. How you doing? Check in, check in, or check out. Not literally, but figuratively. How y'all doing? I almost I'm hella delayed recording this. It's late. I was watching the I've been working, but all day I had playing in the background the spaceship, the live feed from Artemis 2 or 3, whichever number it is. Child, I'm locked in. Okay. I didn't know I was this excited about space. I think it's you I think it's a few things. One, we NASA has been around since I've been around, right? We know that there have been many missions going into space. We know the space station. We know satellite. We know all of this. We know the tragic incidents that have happened. We know the positive missions. But I feel like, and this is not accurate, I'm just saying this. I feel like this is our most recent one where it has been highly publicized, right, over the last however many years. And yes, all of them are, but for me, it just feels like it's just more conversation around this particular moment than it was in the past. And I'm not talking about past before social media. I'm talking about past during social media era. Child, they got the live feed going. They're describing what the moon looks like. So this journey, there are 4 people on the space shuttle. There is a Black man. Shout out to Victor. Victor is Phi Beta Sigma, y'all. The D9 is in space. Okay. There is a woman, a Canadian, and another American man who are manning the ship. Victor is the pilot. That boy, they on social media talking about he whipping it like he they got him whipping the space shuttle like he driving an old school or a Charger. Honey, this is a rocket. This ain't a Chevy Impala. Okay, this is not a Malibu. This is a rocket. But it is a diverse crew. Shout out to DEI. We love to see it. They are having live feeds and we hear them talking throughout the whole mission. And again, the mission is, before I got distracted with laughter, they are journeying the furthest that any crew has gone behind the moon. So they are going towards the moon, wrapping around that thing, and then coming back. So they're describing what it looks like, the different colors, because they don't have a feed that shows us in real time. So we just gotta wait for the pictures to come back. But they already had showed pictures of Earth. And so far, the chatter on social media is that Africa looks massive because y'all know what the maps have done over the years. The maps have portrayed Africa, the continent of Africa, like it is not as big as it is. It is a gigantic land mass. Okay, and we know why, but we ain't gonna get in there. Dang, what we here for? But I just been really excited about it. I wasn't one of those kids who grew up thinking I was gonna be an astronaut, and that wasn't my journey. I am a believer though. If y'all know, I think I can do anything, and I think anybody can do anything they put their mind to. So, but I feel like for kids watching, if you feel like you want to go to space, you can get to space. Like I'm not one of those people. Y'all know, I'm not one of those people who thinks in limitations. I always tell kids that you can do anything that you want. Literally, if you want to be an astronaut, you can be an astronaut. We'll get you there. We'll get you to space. We'll figure it out. Child, Gail went to space. Hey, Gail King was in space. We can figure this out. Okay. But I just was really excited about it. And it's just really cool to see and to hear and to experience this with the crew that is on that ship. So I hope they make it back safely. Side note, the thing that is stressing me out the most about all of this, and if y'all have been following this, y'all have heard a couple times, y'all, the toilet broke. It's not funny, but it is. The thing that is stressing people out the most is not the dangers of the ship they're out in space and the unknown. It is that the toilet is broken. Y'all, how they supposed to use the bathroom? Okay. The woman on board, she's an engineer. At one point, she fixed the toilet. They came back maybe like a day later and was like, guys, the toilet is breaking again and it smelled like it's smoking. Then today, earlier this morning, they were like, guys, yeah, and we can confirm one more time, the toilet broke. How they supposed to use the bathroom? They can't use it and then throw it out the window. Like, how are they using the bathroom? That is really stressing me out. I'm sure when they pull that thing back into Earth and pop that door, you know they do the crash landing into the ocean. Baby, that thing gonna be smelling like doo doo. I just couldn't. I can't. Child, that's the most stressful aspect of this is that the toilet is broken. Either way, I hope y'all are watching and tuned in because it's just really, really, really cool. So in that, yeah, that got me excited. Um, so with that said, let's get into this week's topics because they're a doozy. So one of the biggest conversation pieces that have been happening this week, it revolves around R&B singer who just got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Hollywood Walk of Fame. Shout out to her. It is Brandy Norwood, because she is on a press run or a promo tour for her book that just launched. It's called Phases, a memoir. This is, I believe, it's Brandy's first time writing a book, and it's been a long time coming because, contrary to popular belief, and I don't know, I know the Black News listeners ain't thinking this, but some people may. Brandy is one of R&B's most notable names and talents. Legacy undeniable. Her stamp on R&B is solidified. So it is oftentimes really nice to hear people's story and tell about their journey, their childhood, the things that they went through. It just give us the background information, because one thing we're gonna do is piece some stuff together, and a lot of times it be wrong. Let me keep it a buck. Okay, people don't be knowing they talking about, people be lying and they crazy. But in Brandy's case, she is taking this opportunity to tell us, right, to give us the inside ball. Now, the one of the things that is literally taking over social media is the conversation around a section within her book where she talks about her relationship that she had with Wanye from Boys to Men back in the day. Now, a lot of people, myself included, well, I'm only gonna speak for myself. I always heard rumors that her and Wanye were in a relationship. I At the time when it was happening, I was very young, so it wasn't something that I was very concerned with, if you will. I also never really looked into it. I never looked past or looked deep enough to figure out if it was just a rumor or if it was actually true that they were dating. I also remember there was some conversation around her and Kobe Bryant. The same applies for that. While I heard it, I wasn't invested enough to really be like, "Oh, is this true?" Honestly, I don't think I cared. Right? I just didn't. It wasn't a concern of mine. That wasn't a priority for me. So fast forward to now, hearing from her perspective, it puts things into perspective, because again, at the time, it just wasn't top priority for me. But the part that got people talking is she talks about how, and I'm gonna say allegedly just in case I need to, because I'm just reading the papers. Okay, allegedly. She talks about how she was introduced to Wanye when she was 15 years old. At the time, he was 21. She was a huge fan of his. This was the height of Boys to Men. As y'all know, Wanye could sing down. So I can see how somebody like Brandy with a voice like hers would be a fan of Wanye with a voice like his. They were introduced to each other. They ended up dating, and it was confirmed that they were in a relationship and were having relations, if you will, when she was 16 and he was 22 years old. Now, I'm gonna start this off. The 90s were wild. And I'm gonna even take it further. The 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, and so on were wild, especially for girls, young women, older women, just the female species. Each decade and era was really wild. But reading and hearing that in 2026 compared to being around during the time that this was happening, it rings in the ear a lot differently, right? It sounds different. Now, some of the conversations are the same. They're the same as they were when we were talking about Aaliyah and that man. They're the same when you talk about anything. People were giving an example of D'Angelo and Angie Stone. Regardless of the circumstances, conversations around it were the same. So, amongst all of this conversation, y'all know how the internet do. They gonna pull up old clips. They gonna pull up old interviews. Child, they done dug up an old Breakfast Club interview where Boyz II Men was on there talking about in particular, Wanye was being asked about his relationship with her. And y'all know in the Breakfast Club, especially back in the day, more so, they would be joking and kikiing it up. And the conversation around this, people were um critiquing this because of how nonchalant the discussion was around bringing up that a 16-year-old was having sex with a 22-year-old man. So I'm not going to talk about their experience specifically, right? I'm going to talk about conversations around this, things that I have heard and seen on social media, and things that I have heard myself over the years as a now grown woman who used to be a young woman and a young girl. Okay. So first, and this is not going to be in any particular order because I didn't have time to really organize this. I just did a thought dump and I'm going to talk about all of this. Some people were online saying, what do y'all want us to do with this information? Why is she telling us this? Why now? Why after all of these years? What are we supposed to do with this? And I think the answer is, at least from my perspective, I don't think she wants you or me to do anything specific regarding her, right? When you, a lot of times, and I won't say all, a lot of times, don't no grown woman want nothing from no stranger. Like, ain't nothing you could do, right? Unless it's in this case, buy a concert ticket, who knows, whatever. I don't think this is her telling her story is specifically because she wants you to do anything. Sometimes people just need to tell their story. They need to offer up some perspective. In this case, for her, for Brandy, if y'all recall, she was put into this box that a lot of artists are put into. I can point to quite a few, and y'all know what I'm talking about when I describe this, who are made to be this perfect perception of an artist, of a young woman. They can't do anything wrong. They can't make no mistakes. They can't step out of line. They can't have no boyfriend. They can't get pregnant. They can't have a baby young. They can't do nothing. They have to maintain this level of purity for the sake of the business to appease whoever it is that they need to be appeasing. Fans, corporate, who knows, whatever. So it's likely that she just wanted to paint the full picture, tell her story, because these are some things that she endured as a young woman. Maybe she also, and we all, and I won't say we all, a lot of us do this. I know that I do this as well. Sometimes I tell stories and I tell my perspective in hopes that it's healing for someone or that it's helpful for someone or that you find that you are not alone in your experiences. Growing up in the 90s specifically, and I'm talking about my time frame. I know when I could mention how women and girls, young girls have been going through this. Growing up in the 90s, it was not uncommon to hear about or to see your classmates, your peers who were girls being preyed upon, groomed, and targeted by older men. That was common to the point where we were brainwashed at the time into thinking that that was cute or a badge of honor that you had this old boyfriend who was coming up to driving up to the school, picking you up, bringing you lunch, giving you McDonald's, and he 20 some years old and you 16, 15, 14, however old. That was really normalized. And so now that we're adults, sometimes we need to adjust our perspective because we got young girls coming up behind us and young boys, and we need to see things with the fuller picture. So I'll say that. I'll start with that. Next, I want us to challenge because people were throwing out she fast girls. That's when you being fast. I hate that. Y'all know I've talked about this before on this podcast. I hate when people call young girls fast. Ooh, I can't stand it. How is it the responsibility of a young girl to manage the inappropriateness of a grown man? How is it her responsibility? How is a little girl fast enough to catch a grown man? Answer me, riddle me that. I hate that. And so, in this particular instance, toxic ideologies presented to us by our parents, our grandparents, calling little girls fast, but never holding boys and men accountable. People always asking where the girl's mother and father was, but never asking where the man's parents were. Like, I really want us to sit with this idea of, especially now that we older, we know so much more. Some people don't, but some of us know a lot more. There are a lot of girls who need you to step in on their behalf. We need to to stand in the gap for them and teach them a better way. And also about that next part that I mentioned, never holding boys and men accountable. Right now, the narrative, we can point to any R&B girly, any famous girl who was rumored to be dating an older man. It's always falling back on the girl. Ain't nobody asking about the man, checking the man. He get the key, crack up, laugh, and make jokes and shit. And meanwhile, she taking a hit for it. Or the girl's parents are taking a hit for it. What was her? What were her parents? They did that with that man, the peeing man. Where were their parents? The parents need to be held accountable. Where's her mother? Where was her dad? Where was his mama? Where was his daddy? Where were the man's parental figures? To the point where they raised their son to be out here acting a fool. I need us to reframe our perspective. And also, this is another reason I hate that. They parents were the same place y'all parents were when y'all was acting, cutting up after school at work. Let's keep it a real. Let's keep it a buck. As someone who knew a lot of kids who was doing all kinds of stuff, I don't think anybody's parents, well, I won't say anybody. I don't think a lot of people or some people's parents want their children to be in a predicament that would cause them harm, be dangerous to them, or be out of their depth from an age and maturity perspective or preyed upon. I also don't think a lot of parents be wanting their kids to be lying about where they at. Like the brain ain't fully developed. So when people are like, where were the parents? Child, where was your mama when you was skipping school? She was at work. So where you think her mama was? Like, come on, y'all. Enough. Another sad reality that I touched on, and I want to touch on this again. This is unfortunately a lot of our parents and our grandparents' experiences. This is just the unfortunate part about this. We see all of those stories where you had somebody being married off. I saw a story it resurfaced again where that older woman now, she may have passed on, but she was like 11 and and had to marry like an 87-year-old man. What are we doing? This has been the unfortunate tale for so many years. So for us to be here in 2026 and to hear someone's story and now with older and more mature eyes and have the amount of perspective that we have to still try to find a way to demonize or to over sexualize a situation or to accuse someone's behavior and choices when they were 15 years old, that's insane. And I'm wondering if a part of it is, sometimes people feel like if they had to endure, you got to endure, right? I've been through it, so that's just how it is. You got to go through it too. Some people feel like that. Some people don't want better for you. They don't want better for the people coming up behind them. If they got abused, they want you to be abused. Also, some people do not want to accept that some behavior could have been harmful, bad. They were preyed upon. That it was a form of assault. Some people don't want to accept it because for somebody else because they would have to accept that that was the case for them. It's very difficult for some people to think, oh wow, I was pressured into having sexual relations with a grown man. That means I was possibly sexually assaulted. Some people just can't live with it. They can't handle it. They can't live with it. Some people want to justify themselves out of it. Some people want to talk around it. Child, I remember when we were talking when the P Man, the situation was happening on the P Man. There was this person on social media that I know and was making all kinds of excuses for the behavior, that behavior, and kind of villainizing the girls in the situation. And it was to the point where, and I didn't say this, and I didn't want to say this to her publicly because I ain't the one to try to put nobody out. And I'm not gonna say this person's name, but you can tell in that moment they were doing all of this, and us as their peers, and I know I'm not the only one, was looking at things they were saying and thinking, you were put in the exact same situation as her. And I know it because I was with you, not with you per se when it was happening, but I was in your proximity when this was happening to you. And we didn't know any better back then. But at that moment, it's likely she couldn't admit that because if she admit that what was happening to a stranger was wrong, she would in real time have to admit what happened to her was wrong. And everybody ain't able. It's hard. I say all that to say, I hope we learn to have a little more grace for people. I hope that situations like this continue to open our eyes. I hope I hope this situation was an eye opener for young boys and young men, and to put into perspective what type of person that they want to be. It's just, I think this is just a good learning opportunity for all of us. It's unfortunate if Brandy felt like she was harmed in that situation. I don't know her personal feelings about it. I hope she is getting all the support that she needs. The same with us and you, Black News listeners, right? I hope we all get everything that we need. Let me know what you think about it. There are tons and tons and tons and tons of videos dissecting all of this who may have said this better than I have. Y'all can find, they're all over TikTok, social, Instagram, Threads, you name it. Um, but I had to bring it here for us. But let me know your thoughts about it. If you read the book, if you got the book, let me know. You can find me at Kenelia on social media. Another thing that has been happening is a lot of conversations around the current happenings within the Supreme Court where they are arguing about birthright citizenship. Now, there have been people online getting upset, and black people specifically, because there are black creators talking about this, sending up the alarms, and then you have some black people responding saying, this doesn't apply to us. You are fear mongering. Stop trying to fear monger us. The argument about birthright citizenship does not apply because we have descendants of the enslaved Africans. We have been in this country for since 1619. Some people saying longer. Child, I don't want to. I can't. Then they were saying because the 14th Amendment was basically outlined with black Americans, descendants of enslaved Africans, in mind, that does not apply to us. This conversation does not apply to us. Personally, I think it does. I also know Ketanji Brown Jackson probably got to be the most annoyed person on the planet. This saint of a woman, poor woman, is one of the smartest, most qualified judges the Supreme Court has seen, and is constantly online, uh, um, at the front end of attacks about her credibility. You got people calling her dumb. Like, I've never in my life seen somebody with no education calling a Supreme Court justice who has double Ivy League law degrees, passed the bar, she wasn't a prosecutor, she was a circuit judge. Baby, she been on all the courts, okay? Calling this woman dumb. Like, I just y'all. And for her to be on the Supreme Court during a time like this, child, she be fighting. If y'all ever listen to her on the Supreme Court and the back and forth that she's having with these people, that thing be fighting for us. Like, you can't tell me she ain't sick of this shit. Okay? I know she probably so annoyed. And I know Thurgood Marshall probably rolling over his grave, child. Thurgood probably turning over. Y'all know Thurgood was mad when they put in Clarence Thomas. Y'all know Thurgood pissed. He probably like, man, what the? So I know I watched another documentary on Thurgood Marshall. Yo, Thurgood used to be getting at it, boy. Like, Thurgood Marshall. I know we know Thurgood Marshall, but Thurgood Marshall and also the NAACP lawyers and that civil rights, that division, they used to be getting to work, boy. I can't imagine having the balls to consistently and constantly for decades travel back and forth into the Jim Crow South or into the Midwest, into these hostile environments where our people were getting murdered, hung, you name it, and fighting on behalf of black people to the danger and risk of his own life. Child, at some point they was having to flee the South. They almost got lynched themselves. I mean, Thurgood, if anybody earned their respect and earned their legacy, it's Thurgood Marshall. He probably rolling over in his grave. What's going on with this? He probably pissed. Anyway, this is the thing that I want to bring up, and why I'm talking about this on Black News Podcast. Because around the argument, let me read what the 14th Amendment is, and I'm going to say why I think it's important. Because birthright citizenship is a part of the 14th Amendment. And this is just a summary, right? 14th Amendment, it covers citizenship. It says that anyone born or naturalized in the United States is a citizen, no matter their race or background. If y'all know, this overturned the Dred Scott decision. Then second, due process. The government, state or federal, can't take away your life, liberty, or property without following fair legal procedures. Third, equal protection. States must treat people equally under the law. This is the part used to fight discrimination. Again, all of these are under the 14th Amendment, with birthright citizenship being the battle. Now, one thing that is start really pissing me off when people say, you fear mongering, this ain't got nothing to do with us. The 14th Amendment was created with us in mind. Blah, 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 blah. Y'all, there has been, you can't convince me that starting in 1866, that people weren't trying to figure out a way to put black people back in chains. You can't convince me otherwise. You cannot if people were under the impression, cuz some people really thought that black people were supposed to be enslaved. That is our birthright, to be enslaved. We were lesser than. People be so upset that they freed the enslaved black people. So upset. We got the right to vote, poll tax, voter discrimination, uh, violence, terror against all odds. People were voting. You had black senators and black congressmen in office during Reconstruction. They fought like hell to stop Reconstruction, to get rid of the Freedmen's Bureau, to insert black codes and walk in Jim Crow. You then have an effort to consistently terrorize black people all the way through until the 1960s. Then you have an effort to find a way to then put us back in jail because slavery is legal if you are committed of a crime. Then you got chemical warfare, drugs. If there has been this much effort into harming a group of people, in what world do you think that the powers that be right now are saying, you know what? But when it comes to birthright citizenship, let's leave them out of it. They've been here for a long time. They deserve it. What are y'all thinking? It's crazy to me that people are literally like, no, because this, we're not going nowhere. They wouldn't. This is about birthright citizenship. But no, we're born here. So, like, I just, y'all, that is so baffling to me. And so the reason I'm bringing this up, not to say that we can do anything about this, I just need us to open our eyes. Anything is possible at this point. And I know I may sound like I got the foil hat on, okay? I probably got the aluminum foil hat on, but anything is possible. Don't take nothing off the table. And if you know for a fact that there has been an effort for centuries to disenfranchise a group of people, why wouldn't they continue that process? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I just can't. And so the argument of birthright citizenship that is happening, again, the conversation is one side is saying if you're born on U.S. soil, you are a citizen, period. That applies. You see a lot of this when you have immigrants coming over and they're having children. They are, the children are American citizens. Another side is saying, nope, that's subject to jurisdiction and is under review. So people who are born in the United States, to people who do not have legal citizenship, they shouldn't automatically get citizenship. It's subject to approval. To me, that is the dangerous part because who's to say under what rules someone is considered a full legal citizen? And I say that because during in Germany at one point and in surrounding areas, they made it illegal to be Jewish. Didn't they? Correct me if I'm wrong. And if you make it illegal for somebody to be something, even though you've been here this whole time, all of a sudden you have a baby. We don't think that baby should be be a citizen because technically you aren't. So what if you were a citizen up until a couple years ago? You aren't anymore. The rules change. Man, who's to say that this can't happen? Again, foil hat, whatever. But I just want y'all to be aware because this is happening. They haven't ruled on it yet. Poor Ketanji Brown Jackson been arguing, child. She been going to bed. That poor woman. That poor woman. But let me know what y'all think. Because some people may think this doesn't apply to us. I say otherwise. Right. Hit me up though. You can let me know your thoughts about it. You can find me at Canelia on social media. On this week's episode of Black News, we quickly talked about the Artemis spaceship that is going to the moon right now and how excited I am to be viewing this right now at this point in time in history, piloted by a Black man, I will add. We also talked about Brandy's new book, Phases, a memoir that is currently being talked about right now, specifically a discussion around young girls in relationships with older men. And lastly, we talked about the argument around birthright citizenship that is currently taking place in the Supreme Court and what this could mean for Black people. Hit me up. Let me know your thoughts about all of these topics, some or none, and I'll check back with you guys next time. That's it for this week's episode of Black News, y'all. Thanks again for supporting the podcast by sharing, liking, subscribing, and rating 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. To find more information about me, you can check me out at Canelia on social media, as well as on my website, which is canelia.com. And as always, thanks for supporting, and I'll be back next week with new topics and a new episode.